Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of people learning English run into. That feeling when you want to speak, but your brain just, well, it freezes up.
Yeah, you get stuck inside your own head, right? Overthinking every little thing.
Exactly. It's so common. You know the words are there, somewhere, but they just don't seem to come out smoothly.
There's this hesitation like a wall you can't quite push through.
Absolutely. And it turns what should be a simple conversation into this really intense mental workout. It's frustrating.
Instead of just talking, you feel like you're dodging potential mistakes left and right.
And that whole struggle, that difficulty just getting the words out naturally, it definitely hits your confidence, doesn't it?
It really does. And it impacts how well you communicate. Makes fluency feel, I don't know, miles away.
So our mission for this deep dive is to dig into a really useful podcast transcript we found that talks about exactly this problem.
Right. We want to unpack what it says about why we do this, this overthinking.
And how it holds you back, but also, more importantly, what practical things you can actually do about it.
Yeah, how to break free from that cycle and start speaking English more, well, spontaneously.
We've pulled out the key ideas, the sort of core insights from this source material.
So we can get straight to the point and give you some concrete steps.
Okay, let's dive in then. First off, let's really pin down what we mean by overthinking in this context. What does that actually feel like inside?
Well, the source describes it as this intense mental checklist that kicks in right before you speak.
A checklist? Like what?
You start questioning everything. Is my grammar okay? Did I say that word right? Is this the best word or should I use another one?
Ah, okay. Like a rapid-fire self-correction before you even speak. And what happens then?
Often you just freeze.
Hmm.
You pause for too long, you hesitate, or maybe just don't say anything at all.
You second-guess yourself into silence.
Exactly. You critique every option before it even leaves your mouth. The source contrasted this sort of clunky, overthought speech with natural, flowing conversation.
Yeah, I can imagine someone overthinking might sound like, I was hoping, maybe, to ask about the meeting time, if that's okay. Very halting.
Right. Compared to someone just naturally saying, hey, is the meeting time still the same? It's not about perfect grammar in the second one, necessarily.
It's the flow. That internal editing just kills the rhythm.
Completely disrupts it.
So why do our brains even do this? Why default to overthinking when we're trying to speak English? What reasons did the source give?
A huge one is the fear of making mistakes. There's often this big pressure learners feel to be perfect.
Worrying about being judged, right?
Yes, judged for grammar mistakes, pronunciation slips. That fear can be really strong.
Almost paralyzing sometimes.
It really can be. And connected to that is the fear of not being understood.
Okay, so you worry people won't get what you mean.
Precisely. So you spend all this extra mental energy trying to pick the perfect word or nail the pronunciation before you speak, which just slows everything down.
That sounds exhausting, like trying to translate and proofread in real time.
It kind of is. And perfectionism itself is a major factor, the source highlights. Wanting every sentence to be flawless.
But language learning isn't about being flawless from day one, is it?
Not at all. It's about progress. It's messy. You learn by doing, by making those mistakes, not by waiting for perfection. That desire for constant perfection actually holds you back.
That's a really important point. Progress, not perfection. What about worrying what other people think of, say, your accent or vocabulary?
That fear of judgment is definitely another big block. Worrying about how your accent sounds, if your grammar isn't perfect, if you use a simple word.
Feeling self-conscious.
Exactly. And that self-consciousness leads straight to hesitation. But, the source made a good point. Most people listening are focused on your message. They want to connect, to understand you. They're usually quite patient.
That's a helpful way to think about it. They're not usually grading you. And what about translating in your head?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic. Thinking in your native language first and then trying to translate it word for word into English.
That definitely makes things slow and awkward.
It almost guarantees it. Sentences sound stilted, unnatural, because languages just don't line up perfectly like that. Plus, it takes way too long.
Okay, so we see why it happens. Now, let's talk about the flip side. Why is learning to speak without all that mental noise so important? What are the benefits the source mentioned?
Well, the most obvious one is just more effective communication. When you stop overthinking, the pauses and hesitations decrease.
Conversations just flow better.
Exactly. They become more fluid, more enjoyable. You're not constantly battling your own brain.
It shifts from feeling like a performance to being a real interaction.
Precisely. And that smoothness, that ability to just get your thoughts out, it really boosts your confidence.
Ah, I can see that. When you actually manage to say what you mean without a huge struggle, you start believing you can do it.
Yes, and that confidence is key for staying motivated. Plus, speaking more naturally means you can react and respond much faster.
This is crucial, right? Because if you're lost in your head checking grammar,
You're not really listening. But when you free up that mental bandwidth, you can actually focus on the other person and respond in the moment. Super important for things like job interviews, meetings, even just traveling.
and it helps you get past that translation habit we talked about.
It encourages you to start thinking directly in English, which is a huge step.
Okay, what else? Any surprising benefits?
One interesting point from the source was that speaking more naturally actually improves your listening skills.
How does that work?
Well, when you're less worried about planning your own next sentence, you can tune in more to the nuances of how other people speak, their rhythm, their intonation, maybe slang or idioms they use.
Ah, that makes sense. It's a positive cycle. Better speaking helps better listening.
It really does. And all of this helps you connect better with people. When you sound more relaxed and natural, you can be more expressive.
Your personality comes through more.
Yes. Your body language matches better, people respond more warmly, you build rapport more easily.
And I guess the conversation itself just becomes more enjoyable, less stressful.
Definitely. You can actually focus on the connection and the topic instead of just, surviving the language aspect.
It's not just about sounding good, it's about feeling good during the conversation.
Right. The source also mentioned it helps you sound more like a native speaker, not necessarily accent-wise, but in that effortless flow. Natives don't pause to consciously construct every sentence.
So it's about achieving that natural rhythm and fluency.
Yes, and allowing for authentic self-expression without constantly censoring yourself. And ultimately, when you speak more smoothly, it's often just plain easier for others to follow and understand you.
Okay, the benefits are clear. It really changes the whole game. So how do we actually do this? How do we start tackling those mental blocks, the fear, the perfectionism, the worry?
Well, the source says the absolute first step is just recognizing them. You have to become aware that the fear or the perfectionism is actually there and influencing you.
Just noticing it. Okay, that makes sense. Self-awareness first. Then what?
Then comes the big one, a mindset shift. The source really hammers this home. Focus on progress, not on being perfect right now.
Give yourself permission to be imperfect.
Exactly. Actively tell yourself it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have an accent. It's okay not to sound like a textbook. The real goal is communicating, practicing, and getting better over time.
That really reframes it, doesn't it? It takes the pressure off.
It changes the goal from some scary, impossible standard to a manageable journey. And consciously deciding to let go of those fears makes it easier to just speak.
Okay, so we've got the mindset shift. What about concrete techniques? How do we train our brain to stop doing that frantic checking and just speak more spontaneously?
The main idea is to find ways to practice speaking without the pressure. Just focus on getting thoughts out in English however they come out.
Just talk, even if it sounds a bit messy at first.
Yep. One specific technique is called free talking. You set a timer, maybe just for 2 minutes to start, and you talk about absolutely anything.
Anything at all.
Anything. The only rule is you can't stop talking, you don't correct your grammar, you don't worry about finding the perfect word. Just keep the English flowing.
Wow, okay. That sounds like it would directly attack the hesitation habit. Just push through it.
It builds that muscle memory for speaking without the internal critic chiming in. Another really effective technique is shadowing.
Shadowing. What's that?
You listen to a native speaker, could be from a podcast, a video, anything, and you immediately try to repeat exactly what they say.
Like mimicking them in real time.
As close as you can get, you try to match their speed, their rhythm, their intonation.
Ah, I see. So you're training your mouth and brain to produce the sounds and patterns quickly without stopping to analyze.
Exactly. It helps you internalize the natural flow of English. Then there's chunking.
Chunking, like breaking sentences down.
Sort of, but it's about processing language in natural phrases or chunks. Instead of thinking word by word, like a word like, I want to go. You train yourself to think and say the whole phrase, I want to go.
Got it. Grouping words together the way they naturally occur, that would definitely make you sound smoother and think faster.
Absolutely. You can practice by listening to short bits of conversation and repeating them, paying attention to how the words link together. The source also mentioned mental rehearsal.
Practicing in your head beforehand.
Yeah. If you know you have a specific English-speaking situation coming up, maybe an important meeting or ordering coffee on vacation, You mentally walk through it.
Thinking about what you might say, what questions might come up.
Exactly. Run through key phrases or possible responses. It helps you feel more prepared and less anxious when the real moment arrives.
That seems very practical, like a warm-up for your brain.
It is. And finally, the source stressed just getting out there and having real-time conversations.
Actually talking to people. Imagine that.
Yeah, seems obvious, but it's key. Actively look for chances, even just for small talk. Practice with a language partner, a patient friend, anyone.
The more you do it live, the more your brain gets used to thinking and responding on the fly.
Right. It becomes less of a big deal. And for all of these, the key takeaway was consistency.
Not trying to be perfect every time, but just doing it regularly.
Exactly. Consistent practice, even if it's imperfect, is what helps your brain adapt and get comfortable thinking directly in English.
What about fitting practice into daily life? The source had some neat ideas for that, right? Things you can do without needing a textbook or a class.
Yes, these are great because they make practice feel less like a chore. One is just narrating your own actions out loud in English.
Seriously. Like talking to yourself while you cook. Okay, now I'm chopping the onions.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit weird, maybe, but it's instant practice using relevant vocabulary in complete sentences. Spontaneous output.
Okay, I can see how that would work. What else?
Describing what you see around you.
So if I'm walking outside, I might say, that's a tall building. The sky is blue today.
Yes. Or even just think it in English. It builds your descriptive skills and confidence, forming simple sentences quickly. Another idea is combining listening and repeating while doing chores.
Like putting on an English podcast while doing the dishes.
Right. And maybe you pause it quickly and repeat a phrase you just heard. It mixes listening practice with speaking practice very naturally.
Sneaking it in. I like it.
And then there's engaging in small talk whenever you can. Starting simple conversations. Hi, how's it going? Or commenting on something simple. It gets you comfortable with those basic real-world interactions.
Takes the pressure off needing a deep conversation every time.
Totally. And the big one for breaking the translation habit. Trying to actively think in English.
So instead of figuring out lunch in my native language, I'd try to think, what do I want for lunch? Maybe a salad.
Precisely. Have your internal monologue, your planning, your decision-making happen in English as much as possible. It directly trains your brain.
That sounds like a real challenge, but probably very effective.
It is. And lastly, watching movies or TV shows, but with a little twist.
Don't just watch, interact.
Pause the show after a line of dialogue and try to repeat it. Mimic the actor's intonation, their rhythm, maybe even their expression.
That sounds like fun, actually. A good way to pick up natural expressions and flow.
It really is. So yeah, narrating, describing, listen and repeat, small talk, thinking in English, mimicking dialogue, lots of ways to weave speaking practice into your day.
The core message from the source seems to be, find those moments. Speak English every day, even if it's just for a minute here or there.
Exactly. Those small, consistent efforts add up hugely over time.
Okay, so let's just quickly circle back and recap the main benefits, the big wins you get when you manage to speak English more freely without that constant internal filter.
Right. You get increased fluency, conversations just flow much better.
Your confidence in actually using the language goes up.
You gain that crucial ability to react and respond quickly in the moment.
Your listening skills get sharper because you're more present.
You can form deeper, more genuine connections with people.
Conversations become less stressful and actually more enjoyable.
And overall, you just become much more comfortable and effective using English in your everyday life.
It really does sound like it transforms English from being this stressful academic exercise into a usable, flexible tool.
Which is what language is for, right? Communication and connection.
Absolutely. So this deep dive, really pulling from this source material, it highlights that getting past overthinking isn't just about drilling grammar harder.
No, practice is vital, of course.
Yeah.
But it's so much about that mindset shift.
Letting go of needing to be perfect and focusing instead on making progress step by step.
Yeah, embracing the journey. You have to be kind to yourself. Every time you speak, even if you stumble, you're learning, you're improving.
And the real power seems to lie in integrating those small, consistent practice moments into your daily routine.
Using techniques like narrating your actions or just trying to think through your day in English, those little bits add up.
So if we take that perspective from the source that English is fundamentally a tool for communication, let's leave you with this thought to consider.
What's one small, everyday moment, maybe even right now or later today, where you could consciously choose to let go of the overthinking and just speak?
Maybe look around you. What's one simple thing you could try to describe or narrate or even just think about in English, focusing only on getting the message out, not perfection?
Give it a try. See how it feels.
We really hope this discussion gives you some useful tools and maybe a bit of encouragement to speak English with a little less pressure and a bit more freedom. Thanks for diving in with us today.